What? Whoa, Bati. So this was the hug that was felt around the world that started the debate of if you should allow your girl to be hugged by another man, or if a man should hug another woman's girl, as Michael did with Megan. Michael picked her up like the Lord picked me up out of my depression. Like, Lord, lift me up and let me stand. What's good, y'all? Terrence, Stewart, licensed therapist. I want to break this down because I feel like this is important to talk about, especially the appropriateness of things while you're in a relationship. Now, I'll say this much. As far as Michael and Megan, they obviously have their own relationship outside of Jonathan. Obviously has their own relationship outside of Jonathan. But this, I feel like, was taken into context of how Jonathan was actually responding while the whole thing was going on. If you guys look, it seemed as if Jonathan was just like ignoring it. He was looking a little bit, and it seemed as if, and the issue I think with this video as well too, it seemed as if Michael just passed up Jonathan. But just for context, this was clipped out. So Michael did talk to Jonathan beforehand. So I don't know if you guys saw that or saw the whole video, but he did acknowledge him. That's first and foremost. So be careful of like what you watch on the internet, and be careful of like the things you see, because this is a small, brief part of the interaction. So him dissing Jonathan was for sure taken out of context, because he did acknowledge Jonathan. Now, the hug, right? The hug. What's wrong with the hug? What's wrong with the hug? But when you're getting hugged and lipped off your feet by a man doing that to another girl's woman. Now, here's the thing, right? I spoke to a few people about this, and this is kind of what I came up with, just from a clinical perspective, a licensed therapist perspective. You have to realize sometimes, as a man, and I'm speaking to the fellas right now, if your girl has other guy friends, this may be a strong possibility it may happen. This may be a strong possibility it may happen, because many times you get into relationships, and when you're in these relationships, you don't realize that your significant other already had male friends prior to you guys even know each other or getting to know each other, whatever it may be, right? Now, understandably so, that there are times in which you may have to not take things out of context if you're trying to save the relationship. Because women, I'm pretty sure y'all can attest to it, that if a guy hug you or whatever, it may not be very predictable as to like he's going to pick you up, or he's going to embrace you a little bit harder, or whatever it may be. It can be very unpredictable. And Megan, once she's up in the air, she up in the air. She's up in the air. What can you do? She couldn't do nothing but hold that hat of hers. She was just trying to make sure that hat don't go away. Look, when she got lifted up in the air, she's just trying to make sure that hat on. And she holding that water bottle. Like, how much, what else could she have done? I don't know what else could she have done? Was she supposed to hit him? Was she supposed to kick him? Was she supposed to be like, no, don't? What else was she supposed to do? So, understandably so, that there are times in which you may get in a relationship and your female companion may have guy friends, and they have a relationship already. Now, I know I've been in relationships where, I've had women date, or excuse me, not while we're dating, had guy friends, and they, picked them up or whatever. I remember one time I got super uncomfortable because there was a relationship that I was in specifically, that the guy would like kiss my girl on the cheek, and that's just how they address each other. And I remember thinking, like, that's weird as heck. Like, why are they like kissing? Like, are we in France? I know they do that in other countries, but like, Black folks don't really do that like that, So I remember I had to really kind of address like my own insecurities around that. And I was like, should I allow that or should I not? But the crazy thing is like they were no longer friends. So like that, I didn't really have to like address it like that. But yeah, I was like, what the heck? Like that was weird. So I always like joke, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to me. Again, it's like not culturally that we do that, but it didn't really mean like they were hooking up or whatever it may be. If they were, I mean, ignorance is bliss to me, and I'm just taking it for face value, right? I can't make any assumptions, and that's so many times in our own relationships. I feel like men, we do make a lot of assumptions, and sometimes our assumptions get our relationship killed. Assumptions get our relationship killed, right? But yeah, obviously looking at this from a standpoint of face value, is this appropriate? Is it not? I feel as if there's any issue that has to be addressed with Jonathan if he feels insecure about that. You know, I know Jonathan's recently been going through a lot with, the whole situation. I made some videos about his situation before and how Megan has really been a a pillar for him, especially during the hard times he's been experiencing. Now, I know we kind of have this idea of like Megan Good, especially if you're a millennial or a '90s baby. We've seen her in a bunch of movies. I remember the first time I really seen her. Um, obviously it was Friday, the ice cream truck, but kind of really seeing her on a regular basis was like Cousin Skeeter and some of these children's shows that we was watching as a kid. So, but as she got older, it was kind of like she became this like sex symbol, or she became like, okay, like she's like a baddie, or we what was the uh she was on magazine covers and things of that nature. So she was seen as somebody was like, oh, like, yeah, she bad. And if I had the opportunity, fellas was like, yeah, I would get at Megan Good. Right. But Megan Good, if you guys been following her career and her trajectory and the things she's been doing, she's like super God fearing and she's super into celibacy and things of that nature. I know she was previously in a relationship with Devon Franklin, which I know didn't work out. But even when I was watching their relationship, I was kind of like, that's kind of interesting because I never seen Megan Good in the light of where she was like following God and she was following Christ and she was really like wholesome. You know, I sometimes feel like we take things out of context. We're like, oh, well, Megan Good and Michael are hooking up. If they did, if they have a history, obviously, again, they've been in the industry for a long time, so they probably have a deep rooted, relationship. If they're ever intimate, I don't know. If they were, obviously, this this whole conversation would probably be a little bit different. But I don't know if we know that for a fact per se. And let me know in the comments if you guys know that for a fact. If you got maybe I missed something over the last 20 years or so. But from my understanding, they haven't. And obviously, long, being friendly and things of that nature is, I guess, part of their relationship. You know, I think for me, I think just kind of one of the other things with him is I don't know why. I don't know why he decided to sound like Cookie Monster when he picked her up, though. I was like sitting here like, okay, the hug, but why he sound like that? Like, like that was a part for me where I was like, okay, well, why is he like the Cookie Monster? Just kind of, I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny. That's just my own weird humor. But he didn't have to go. I think if anything, he didn't have to go to the extent of like making that noise. I was kind of like, come on, dog. Like you're making it. You putting you put X's on it. But again, I feel as if realistically, don't use this as a comparison. This is just from my perspective as a therapist. Don't use this comparison to equate or evaluate your own relationship because what happens is you may look at a clip like this, right, fellas? You may look at the clip like this, and now you're starting to set standards and quote unquote what you think is boundaries, which is actually is just really like a, maybe a rule to you right away because you don't know how to set boundaries. So you're going to set a rule. You may look at it like, oh, you know what? I'll never let my girl do X, Y, and Z. I may never, da 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 da. And one, that opportunity may never present itself to you. And second, you can't compare your relationship to other people's relationship. Obviously, this is something that, maybe they talked about or whatever it is, but this is just a small clip into what their relationship may or may not be. So don't take this clip and run with it and try to, make up rules in your relationship based on what you see here. Because what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up making something up in your head. And therefore, your thoughts and your feelings around this video is going to internalize and manifest into your relationship. And if you next time if you're with your lady, she has a guy friend, you're gonna be you're gonna be on the floor measuring to see how high, if her legs got up or whatever it is, or if she was picked up off the floor, And if she was, what is it that you're gonna do? Obviously you don't want to seem less than the man. You don't want to seem like, oh well, she got a control and that's X, Y, and Z. But this is where I feel like the insecurity part comes in, and this is where the insecurity parts come in when we talk about men's mental health and men building healthier relationships. Is you can have a healthy relationship, and this incident happened. The best thing you can do is have a conversation with your partner about this or with your lady about it without putting it out of context. Some questions you may want to ask are, hey, is that something you guys always do? Or hey, what are your thoughts about that? Or hey, or just let them know, hey, like that kind of made me feel uncomfortable. You know, if you're really insecure and you want to try to get over that and even address that as, you know, as it may possibly happen, be open and transparent if you feel like it's going to bother you. But again, don't take this out of context to trying to figure out what to do in your relationship because, again, this is a whole different dynamic than what your relationship actually is, right? So, again, this hug, in my opinion, I'm looking at him like, dang, like that's crazy. But all in all, in my relationship, if I was, excuse me, in my relationship, if that were to happen, for me, I would really have to be like, okay, well, is it gonna bother me or is not? And honestly, as secure as I am in my relationship, I wouldn't let that bother me, to be completely honest. I really wouldn't let that bother me because what is it to me to develop, have a conversation around this? Because I'm not insecure like that in my relationship. So this something like this wouldn't bother me. But again, taken out of context, we see Jonathan and like the way he was looking around, and a lot of folks are like, well, he might have felt some type of way in X, Y, and Z. But if this triggers you, it may be a sign of, hey, you may want to go to therapy or you may need to try to develop more relationships, healthy relationships, or not healthy relationships, but you need to develop better ways to communicate in your own relationship. I do have some links in my bio of when to start therapy and how to start therapy. You guys must definitely check those out. I appreciate y'all for rocking with me during this video. Hopefully, this brought some context to your relationship. Obviously, it's a little bit of funny and a little comical in my opinion. But my hopes is that you guys don't take this out of context, but also bring some context into your own relationships and how you feel about the person that you're with right now. I appreciate y'all tapping in. Y'all take care. Peace.